Why do we overdo, overwork, over prepare, overcheck, overthink? We do it because it's our attempt usually to feel safe. The more I can prepare, the more I can check, the more I can do, the more I can overthink, the safer I'll be. I won't get caught out. I won't make a mistake. This typically is our way of managing the anxiety that comes with the self doubt that we can experience.
Confidence, confidence, confident. I can be confident. Confidence, confidence, confident. I can be confident at work.
Hello and welcome to the Confident at Work podcast. I'm your host and your confidence coach, Anna Manning, and I am delighted that you're here. Whether you are a long-time listener or you're just tuning in for the first time today, welcome. So today we're talking about how to stop overdoing and start trusting. This is something so many competent professionals struggle with. Overdoing. I had this conversation with somebody last week, which prompted me to talk to you about this on the podcast because they said to me, what is it usually that makes somebody, come to you? How do they decide that it's time? And I said, usually my person is competent. So it's not that there's a problem with their competence, but they have got a problem with their confidence. And most people who come to me have got through so far to where they are and had the success that they've had, not via confidence, because many of them will tell me, I've always struggled a bit with my confidence, but they've got by overdoing, overworking, over delivering, over preparing, over checking, and overthinking. So they've been overdoing almost every aspect at work, both in their heads and on paper. And to be fair, for most of them, it's worked to a point. Most people who come and work with me already have a measure of success. So this approach of overdoing, overworking, over-delivering, over-preparing, over-checking, overthinking, it can create success. You can get praise, you can get promotions, you can get progress. But if there is a confidence problem underlying all of that, then at some point, the approach, overworking, overdoing, overprepping, overchecking, overthinking, stops working. So we're going to look into, on this episode, why overdoing in all those different ways feels safer. We're going to look at when it stops working, and then we're going to look at how to start trusting, which is the opposite of what you might have been doing so far. But let's start with why we overdo. So why do we overdo, overwork, over prepare, overcheck, overthink? And we do it because it's our attempt usually to feel safe. The more I can prepare, the more I can check, the more I can do, the more I can overthink, the safer I'll be because I won't get criticized. I won't get caught out. I won't make a mistake. This typically is our way of managing the anxiety that comes with the self-doubt that we can experience. When you're not trusting yourself, when you're not trusting your expertise and your knowledge, then you try and control everything. And this overthinking, overdoing, over-preparing, over-checking, overthinking, it's an attempt at control. And I'm controlling, or I'm trying to control everything to make sure as I possibly can, that I'm not going to end up in my version of the shit, which is getting something wrong, being criticized, being told something's not right, exposing myself, having people stop trusting me. But the problem is when you can use this approach and use this approach to gain some success, you never need to grow trust in yourself. You never need to grow trust in your knowledge, in your expertise, in the years of experience that you've built up, in your opinion, in your way of doing things, in your approach. It's almost like the more you overdo, the less you trust. Most people think, I can be confident once everything is perfected. Once I have a cast iron guarantee that I'm not going to get criticized, that I'm not going to get it wrong, that I'm not going to expose myself to any potential for something to flail or fail or go awry. And that kind of confidence can only come after I have checked every single box 50 million times, after I've considered every potential pitfall and planned for them. After I've fact checked the thing that I was going to say in my own head 50 times before I said it in case it wasn't quite right, after I've checked that email 50 million times before I sent it in case there was a typo, after I've researched every potential topic that somebody could possibly ask me about in that Q&A and scripted out all the answers. If this is you, that might be what you want to ensure that you're safe. Safe from harm, safe from exposure, safe from the possibility that any little thing could go wrong. But we get to the point where it stops working. At some point, this system breaks down. And it's often when you have to, for whatever reason, step out of the detail. I used to work as a solicitor. And so I would have my own cases and I would know every detail of all of those cases. And I would be able to, pull up the information out of my brain whenever you asked me for an update or what was going on, etc. I would know because I would know all of my cases in detail. Now, let's say I then take a leadership role and I'm expected to oversee a team of people who all have their own cases, who all have their own caseload. Well, at that point, I have stepped out of the detail. At that point, I can't know every single thing about every one of those cases because suddenly everyone's got 50. So my system of overworking, overdoing, overpreparing, overchecking, overthinking, and overanalyzing every detail doesn't work anymore. It might be when you move into leadership and instead of being in a professional area where you had technical expertise and you knew this is right and this is wrong, you may be now being asked to decipher or give your opinion on things that don't have that much of a black and white answer anymore. Maybe you're even working with the technical people and they actually have a lot more expert knowledge than you do. Maybe you have now more on your plate. So you can't proofread every email 50 times or check every single figure. Maybe you're now being asked to make decisions with incomplete information. Maybe you're being asked to speak off the cuff rather than having days of preparation. That is often when I see people's overdoing, overchecking, overpreparing, overthinking stops being an option. And that is when so many of my clients hit a wall because for them, their whole confidence system, and maybe for you, was built on being able to control every tiny thing. It was built on control, not built on trust. And many of the people who come to me can kind of see that. They get that they used to be able to control all kinds of things and now it's not always as possible anymore. And it doesn't create the confidence problem, but what it does is it highlights, it illuminates a problem that perhaps was there under the surface. It's just that your method of control to solve that problem isn't really working anymore. Or if it is, you're on the verge of it making you burn out, ill, whatever. And I like to think about what confidence actually means because we throw this word around, don't we? When you look at the root of the word, it comes from the Latin con, with, and fide or from fide, which is trust. So confide, confidence with trust or with faith. So to act with confidence is to act with trust or with faith. Trust in what? Trust in your expertise, your knowledge, that what you've done is good enough, that you have the experience to make that decision, that nothing is ever going to be perfect and that's okay. That sometimes you're going to make a mistake or get it wrong and you can come back from it, that you have the knowledge and the expertise to lead people and to do it your way. Confidence doesn't come from effort and control. It comes with trust, with faith in you. So if that's true, and in order to take the next step, if you're really resonating with what I'm saying in this podcast, in order to take the next step and build your confidence from where you are, you're probably going to have to do something different. And I think very often the thing that I see working for people is that you have to start trusting. You know, they say what got you here won't get you there. Very often, I think that when I'm talking to new clients, yes, the overthinking, overchecking, overworking, overpreparing has got them here. They've had success with it. But very often, when we unpack it and when we look, that thing that's got them here isn't going to get them there. It isn't going to get them where they want, which is to feel confident and calm and in control. The thing that's going to get you there is usually trust. So, how do you begin? I recommend starting small. So, step one, first step, is just to listen to this podcast, take it in. And if you're thinking, this is me, I'm the overdoer, great. That's step one, done. You notice what's happening right now. If you want to move on from there, if you want to embrace this or even just experiment with it and say, okay, well, what I've done has got me here, but maybe Anna's right that if I want to feel more confident at work, and I'm guessing you do, and you're not just listening to this podcast for a laugh, maybe what's going to get me there is learning how to trust. So, number two is to start really small. Next time you feel the urge to double check something or to check yourself, pause and just ask yourself, what would I do here if I trusted myself? What would I do here if I trusted myself? Because believe you me, an answer will emerge and it will be interesting to look at what that answer is. You know, when they say the answers are inside of you, well, in this case, they probably are. So give it a go. Next time you want to, triple check an email, next time you want to check yourself and think, oh, I shouldn't say that because I'm not 100% sure it's right. Next time you're over preparing something to death when, you could just make 5 bullet points and then go and do the damn thing. Ask yourself the question, what would I do now if I trusted myself? And in case you feel nervous about this or worried, I don't think this is about being careless or being reckless or not caring. Very often, people will say to me, well, if I don't overcheck, overthink, overdo, or all of that overworking, then I'll just go to the complete other extreme. I don't care. I don't care what happens. It's like either I do it like this, I hold on, I grip so tightly, or I don't care about anything at all. So, just in case your brain is offering you that, I want to say don't think that they are the only two options for you. Because I'll bet if you look into your back catalogue, so the work that you've done so far, you can rely on yourself to know what's best. You did know when you stopped yourself in that meeting that that was a good point. You can write that email without checking it 50 million times. You can trust what your gut response was to that situation because of the years of experience that you've had. And if you've been trying to feel more confident by working harder, thinking more, checking everything to the nth degree, never letting any little things slip, this maybe is your invitation to even try just for a day doing it differently. Most clients that I work with have to go through this process, and it can be an uncomfortable process of stopping the overdoing and starting trusting. And it can be tricky at first. But once you start to go out there and actually do it, once you take this thing on the road in your day to day, you will quickly start to build up evidence of where and when you can trust yourself. And it's actually okay. Of when you did know the right answer or a good point or how much really that thing needed to be perfected before it went out. Ultimately, confidence is not going to come from perfecting every single little thing. It comes from starting to trust and have a bit more faith in you. So this week, I want you to try and notice when you're overdoing, when you're double checking, when you're over preparing, or when you're overthinking. This doesn't just have to happen in practice, it can happen in your mind too, because you don't quite trust yourself. And then pick that moment and ask yourself that question. what would I do here if I trusted myself? Or what would I do now if I trusted myself? Just do a little experiment and see what happens. You might find that it starts to loosen your grip. You might find that actually there are loads of moments where you can trust, just like you want other people to trust you, to trust that you know what you're doing, to trust that when you really do not know something, you're going to go and ask for help or support, to trust that you have the knowledge and the expertise to do the thing that you've been hired to do, to trust your decision, to trust your approach, to trust your way. Will you always be 100% right? No. And then you will keep trusting that you can fix it, that you can learn from it, and that you can move on. All right. I hope that was useful for you. If you recognize the person in this episode as being you, and you want my help to stop overdoing everything and start feeling more confident, there are two ways that you can work with me. The first is through private coaching. That is one-on-one, where we sit down and we make a plan to address all of the areas that you're struggling right now. The second is, if you're a woman, you can ask me about joining the Confident at Work membership, where we do group coaching, training, we have a private podcast, and everything is designed to help you feel more confident at work. If you're interested in chatting to me about either of those, go through to the link in the show notes, click on the link and book. I'm happy to listen, and I'll tell you whether or not I think I can help. All right. I will see you in next week's episode. Bye.
Confidence, confidence, confident. I can be confident. Confidence, confidence, confident. I can be confident at work.